Today we're going to be talking about quotas. I read an article recently that made me think of some interesting questions about diversity. It made me ask myself, what would diversity success look like? And how much diversity and what's the quota that is required for a country like Canada to remain virtuous? And also, how much diversity and what is the quota for other countries like the United States, like England, like France, as well as Sweden. Sweden, which is now the #1 rape capital of the world. What do our politicians and propagandists mean when they say diversity?
And that is what our government is doing with this funding, with these $23 million that will go a long way towards helping organizations like the Boys and Girls Club of Peel that provide so much support to vulnerable youth within my riding and across Peel and Brampton. And CCM that does a lot of data collecting on hate crimes and really pushing that advocacy needle forward within our country. Or like Islamic Relief that does not only work within Canada, across the world in really removing...
The title of the article is England's Muslim Population Tops 3 Million, and it exceeds the census population of Wales and Northern Ireland. The Muslim share of England's population in 2016 was 5.6%. Do you think this is enough, or do they still require more diversity? For England, this rise in the Muslim population was simultaneously associated with a decline in the Christian one, which dropped from 59.6% in the 2011 census to 56.6% in the 2016 census. As the political commentator and YouTuber Carl Benjamin said it, there are now more Muslims in Britain than there are Welsh people. Think about that for a minute. If the Muslim population of Britain could have their own autonomous religion within the United Kingdom, and it would be more populated than Wales, is this diversity, or is it now colonialism? Did you know that there are now towns in England where the population is 100% Muslim, notwithstanding the peaceful Muslims who do not subscribe to extremist rhetoric, but unfortunately they are irrelevant? There are two reasons for this. Reason one is because they are not the ones in power. Your idiot Khawaga politicians who elevate the profiles of Islamists along with their radical mosques, they have ensured that they do not hold power. People like Justin Trudeau and Andrew Scheer have done. They have legitimized terrorist front groups, ensuring that it is the extremists that hold power in these communities. Idiots like Justin Trudeau and his jihadi brother. But there's also another reason. The second reason is that unlike the kuffar, who are the non-believers, non-extremist Muslims, peaceful Muslims, they know how to hide. They can live in an extremist society without rocking the boat. No different than the way they lived and the way I lived back in their home countries. So now, is it fair to ask if diversity has indeed brought in shit from the Middle East as well as large communities of regular scared Muslims who will just get along to get along? They're not fighters. They want to live in peace, so they stay quiet. This is yet another reason that allows the Islamists to win.
The government, law enforcement, and media, they are the main culprits. They spread Islamophobia. They fuel the fires of Islamophobia. So law enforcement, RCMP, I do not trust you. And the Muslim community should not trust them.
Pair that to the cowardice and the opportunism of your politicians, who are more than happy to lay it all down for the extremists to ensure that their campaigns are well funded in the easiest way possible, even if it's blood money coming from terrorists and their bagmen. Is this diversity? So what is the measure for successful maximum diversity potential for us here in Canada? I want to know. How much diversity do we need? Is it enough when the Muslim population in Canada grows to be larger than your entire First Nations and your Indigenous population in Canada? Will we be diverse enough then? Or would we still need more? How about if the Muslim population in Canada grows to be larger than the entire population of Quebec and all Francophone Canadians across the country? Is that enough diversity? And then what? Should we then declare 3 official languages in Canada instead of 2? Arabic, English, and French? Because that's essentially what's going to end up happening. And then things are going to get really interesting.
Why do you think Allah brought you here? Why do you think Allah brought your parents and they brought you here? Do you think because there was a civil war back home and they had nowhere else to go, and now all of a sudden they came to Sweden, to this small village, I can't even pronounce its name. Do you think they came here accidentally? No. It was designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was designed so you perhaps can be born and raised here so you can carry the message of Islam to your own community, to a Swedish community. Because maybe your father, when he's speaking Swedish, he has an accent. Maybe your mother, when she's speaking, she has an accent. Maybe they don't understand the culture of the people. Perhaps Allah brought you here so you can adapt, understand, analyze, read, and learn the culture of these people. And then in return, you come back and you give them the light of Islam. But unfortunately, a lot of young ladies and a lot of young boys or young men, they think they were brought here so they can have fun. They can listen to music. They can shovel some snow that their fathers never seen it before. That they can make a snowman in front of their houses. That they can slide down on the hill. That is not the reason. The reason that Allah brought you here is so you can carry the message of Islam to the people. Why? Because each one of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabb." Call to the way of your Lord. So your responsibility is to call people to Allah.
By the way, if you think society has grown violent, you haven't seen anything yet. I lived this the same way many women are still living it across the Middle East. Here is a quote for you from Hassan al-Banna, who is the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. I encourage you to study this quote and memorize it, and get your children to memorize it as well, because this is the extremist ideology in short. And on a side note, they are not interested in you. They are not looking to convert you. The target here is your children. Be it by converting your children, by brainwashing them, or getting their offspring to impregnate your daughters. But anyway, here's the quote. It is in the nature of Islam to dominate, not to be dominated, to impose its law on all nations and extend its power to the entire planet. Can you say brown supremacy? Where are all the hashtag people? And I'm linking an article, a fascinating read, in the description below. It is from Gatestone. And as someone who was born and raised in an extremist society, I can confirm that the article is a perfect representation of the goals of da'wah. And if da'wah is a term that you are unfamiliar with here, I would strongly recommend that you familiarize yourself with it and fast. And not the bullshit your snake oil car salesman Islamists tell you here. You know, when they say stuff like jihad is an inner struggle. The real da'wah, the da'wah that people like myself were taught in school. Because da'wah is a tactic and a strategy, and is how they target the naive, well-meaning Canadians who truly believe that all cultures are equal and that people are liberal, just like them. Well, they're not. And millions of women, along with myself, carry the scars to prove it. The marks on our backs from the lashes that we received when we were deemed to have stepped out of place. This is your diversity. By the way, what's an acceptable diversity quota for Pakistan? Or Saudi Arabia? Or Qatar? Or any other one of the whole countries that are literally nothing but garbage, desert, trash bins of filth? These are the countries that are over 99% Islamic. Is that diversity? What do you think the Islamists would say? How is diversity our strength? And who is the our here exactly, and how so? Also, is there any evidence to back up this claim? Because so far, it seems to me that the evidence is pointing to the opposite, meaning diversity is a weakness that has fractured every country that has participated in the mass migration experiment. Crime rates, in fact, have soared in every single country claiming diversity as strength. Hell, they're even seeing crimes they've never seen before. So what does that indicate? And when you look at countries like France, Germany, and Sweden, you will find that they are in a state of civil war, which your state-tailored news broadcaster that is designed to keep you in your happy little bubbles and that you have been taught to believe and follow like a religion will never show you.
Candlelight vigils have pagan origins. So it is not permissible for one who believes in Allah and the last day to take part in those vigils. Nor is it permissible for us to invite others to attend those vigils.
Will we be happy when we can no longer feel any type of social cohesion in our local communities? When the safety of your children becomes a thing of the past, will we feel strong then? When the number of women wearing black garbage bags in public is the majority, will we be seen as diverse then? Will we be fully diverse when we develop no-go zones of foreign colonization, like the ones in England, where non-Muslims can't even step foot because they're afraid of retaliation of the religious thugs that patrol these communities? What about compulsory hijab? Will we be deemed diverse by the Islamists if implemented? And please don't laugh, and please don't say that will never happen, because Iran. And what about Bosnia? Was there not a civil war in the Balkans in the 90s? Tell me, which ideology was in the center of that conflict? Perhaps go see who is controlling Bosnia now, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it.
عما تعمل وما يقال في اليهود يقال في كل من تشبه باليهود. إذا حققت العبودية لله فأبشر وأمل بوعد الله وبنصر الله. وفي آخر الزمان حينما ينتصر المسلمون على شرار الخلق على شياطين الإنس يقول الحجر والشجر يا مسلم يا عبد الله.
Iran is in the news. Here is Imam Rizvi of York Region in Toronto instructing your Toronto police on how to behave. Rizvi is an open supporter of the IRGC, the Iranian regime, as well as Ayatollah Khomeini. He also advocates for the temporary marriage of 9-year-old girls in his book. What do you think? Are we diverse enough now for the Islamists? Or maybe the quota will be filled when we have about 1,600 mosques screaming Allahu Akbar 5 times a day, like they do in the UK. Will we be diverse enough then? How about if we have pro-Iranian regime and terrorist supporters openly demonstrating in the streets of Toronto, assaulting counter-protesters in front of the Toronto police who choose to do nothing? What do you think about that? That must be diversity. Or maybe there is an honor killing quota? You know, there is an honor killing and an honor suicide epidemic in Mississauga, which politicians like Bonnie Crombie refuse to address. I guess the virtuous Canadians don't care about brown girls who are forced to take warfarin because they've been shamed by their family and their local community for liking a Canadian boy. Is this the diversity we seek? Tell me, what happens when 3 million people, who for the most part think in the same collectivist mentality and follow the same strict political ideology that tells them to conquer the world in order to achieve paradise and meet Allah, what happens when they act together like their ideology tells them to, as a single united voting bloc against you? Is this diversity? Do you want to know why they are going to win unless you wake up and start fighting back? They are going to win because the Islamists have a common goal and they are ideologically driven to achieve this goal. They also don't need to conspire with each other because they are all taught the same ideology as children. This same extremism that I was taught as a child. There is a reason I and women like myself are trying to warn you right now. Because when you lose, it will be your fault and your fault alone. When you lose the right to free speech, it's going to be your fault and your fault alone for not fighting back. When you lose the right to criticize any religion, it's going to be your fault because you did not fight back. When you lose the right to drink alcohol, to watch porn, to hold the hand of your lover in public, or to have a gay relationship, it's going to be your fault because you are behaving like cowards and your politicians are knifing you in the back. And I'm sorry. It's just a little bit of tough love. Don Cherry style, if you may. You know, someone said it best recently. He said the Islamists are winning because they have a goal and they continue to be persistent and push towards that goal. Whereas your adult children can't tell the difference between a boy and a girl. This is your diversity. Tell me, do you think the endless, nauseating, drone-like repetition of the world's most empty and vapid slogan, diversity is our strength, do you think this undoes the torture that women like myself suffered? Does it erase the countless times women were raped by the state authority, maimed, jailed, or beheaded? Does your little diversity is our strength slogan undo all the torture that we have suffered? Well, I guess the universe must have a sense of humor or a karma, because now generations of chaos and torture have arrived. When the most ignorant of society is allowed to permit jihadis into your police service boards, to make decisions in your government, and to buy off your politicians, you too in time will learn the wrath that you have unleashed upon us all if you don't snap out of it. Or maybe the real test is when they take away your national sport and identity, hockey. When they start banning it in local communities because it's considered bid'ah and haram. You know what diversity is? I'll tell you what diversity is because I grew up in it. Diversity is a euphemism for Islam. التنوع هو تعبير عن الإسلام. And diversity is coming to destroy your culture and your family.